Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm Zoe, the Community Manager at Crowdfunder UK. And tonight we're going to be looking at how you can raise money to keep your communities active, how you can raise money for your rugby clubs. Primarily, we're going to be focusing on the Movement Fund, which is a match funding opportunity that we distribute through Crowdfunder. We'll also be looking at some other opportunities that you might be able to be eligible for from your crowdfunding campaign. We have also been joined by the wonderful Nicola and Tracy from Dursley RFC, who are going to talk through their successful projects. They've actually run a couple with us over recent years, and I'm sure they'll have some great hints and tips and advice for all of you on the call. Just a bit of housekeeping before we dive into the main body of the content. We have allowed an hour for this session, and that does include a Q&A as well. So please do make sure that you use the chat box. I can see lots of you introducing each other, letting us know who's here in that chat box, which is wonderful. Please also type any questions that you have for either myself about crowdfunding or any of our panel this evening as well, and we will get round to those towards the end of the session. You can also use the Q&A box, which you'll find along your Tools tab at the bottom of your screen. This is a live session. We are recording this session and we will make sure that you have access to a replay of this as part of a follow-up email. Within that email, we'll also include things like links to some of the resources that we've discussed, the example project that we're discussing this evening, and of course, all of that information on the Movement Fund as well. So do keep an eye on your inboxes over the coming days for that one. Now, if you find that you have any issues with your internet connection, the best thing to do is just leave the live session and follow that joining link to come back into the live room. You might find that you've lost any of the chat that's been going on, so you can just pop a message to us and we can bring you back up to speed. In terms of viewing the screen, you might find that my video and the panelist videos are actually sitting on top of the slides. If that is happening for you, you can just go up to the top right hand of your screen. You should be able to select side by side speaker view, and that will remove our videos from the slide content so you can see it in its entirety. Okay, we have a lot to get through in the next hour, so let's get started. For some of you on the call, you might not be particularly familiar with crowdfunding, or Crowdfunder UK, I should say. Some of you may well be familiar with the idea of crowdfunding, which is essentially going out to your community and your network and amassing donations and pledges and essentially fundraising by way of donations from your crowd. You might have used other digital fundraising platforms. There are quite a few out there. We have a few different USPs. We have a few different things that we enable projects to do, which set us apart from some of those other platforms. And we're going to be discussing that tonight. Ultimately, to break it down into its simplest form, what you would need to do is sign up for a free to access account with Crowdfunder UK. From that point, you can start inputting some of that basic information and start creating your campaign page. On that page, we encourage you to really tell your story in an engaging way. And by that, we mean talking about your club or your organization, talking about, of course, why you need to raise the money. We also really recommend that you talk about the kind of community engagement and community impact that you're already having. And I'm sure all of you are. We know that's one of the great things about sports and physical activity projects is they are already, no doubt, having some really positive community impact. Make sure you're highlighting that through all that you're doing. And of course, setting your fundraising target and deciding how long you need to run that project in order to reach that target. Once you've set up that page and you've clicked go live, your project will be supporter facing, public facing on our website. You can share that link, so the website page link for your specific crowdfunding page, so the URL, into any of the promotion that you're doing about your amazing fundraising. So you might be putting that out there in social media, on your social media platforms. You might be putting it into a newsletter or maybe sharing it with local press, for example. Ultimately, it's up to you to drive that traffic to your campaign page to get them donating and pledging directly onto that page. There's a huge amount of support available to help you to do this. So we do encourage you to engage with webinars such as this. We've got drop-in sessions where you can come along and talk to us, talk to humans, obviously online, but you can connect with us. And we've got a really great website with loads of brilliant resources as well for you to utilize at any stage throughout your campaign. Once you've raised that money, you can then obviously draw down the funds and get that project underway, and also make sure that you deliver on any of the rewards that you might have listed on your page. So rewards are one of those USPs that I mentioned, the ability to actually list things on your page that people can claim for a price point. So I will talk a little bit more in detail about rewards and the types of things that you can offer. Essentially, it's giving something back to your supporters for their financial contribution. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it cannot be things like shares or equity, investment, but it can be things like products or services, event tickets, merchandise, sponsorship opportunities. And we can talk a bit further about that later on in the session. One thing that comes up time and time again is people questioning, well, why would we do it in this way? We're quite used to raising money from our members, doing in-person, face-to-face events, or applying for kind of grants, or pots of money behind the scenes. What is it that would make us want to crowdfund kind of above all of those fundraising solutions? And I would say that they all have their place, absolutely. One thing to consider with crowdfunding is that there are lots of different benefits that come along with raising money in this way. It does potentially kind of push you out of a comfort zone, which we're there to support you with to make sure you can kind of do it successfully and you have all of the knowledge that you need. But by doing that and doing it in such a public facing way, there can be some wonderful benefits that come along with it. So things like building validation in your ideas, actually seeing if there's an appetite within your community, within your beneficiaries for what you're trying to raise money for. It can be a really low risk way to kind of test the water and actually see if the project idea that you have as a committee or a group of individuals is actually something that's going to be well received by the community or by your members or your beneficiaries. 99% of the time it is, because you understand your audiences, you understand your members, and it may well be things that are either long overdue or people have been asking you for, or you really do need to increase the project delivery of. By doing it in this way, you'll also encourage that awareness around what you're doing. So not only will it help to create a buzz around the project itself and get people excited, waiting to actually see that project come to fruition, you may well find that actually the community itself understands more about the club and the organisation. We've often had different kind of clubs, especially within the sporting sector, actually, where people have fed back to us that before doing the crowdfunding campaign, they felt as if they were really well known within the community. And actually, by doing the crowdfunding campaign, what they realised was maybe they weren't as well known as they had first thought, or there were pockets of the community that they hadn't really engaged with before. And this gave them an opportunity and a chance to do that. Things like, clubs saying, we assumed that everybody knew that we had charitable status. Actually, by creating our crowdfunding page and getting our message out there, we've had feedback that people just thought that we were kind of, a limited company, if you like, very much financially self-sufficient, and didn't realize that there would be a need for us to fundraise. So it can really help to break down some of those barriers and open up some conversations as well and build that awareness. Those that will support your campaign will naturally become advocates of your project and actually of you as well as kind of project owners and as clubs. So making sure that you share regular updates with those groups of people can really help to build engagement and foster stronger connections, which could lead to all sorts of wonderful partnerships going forward. Again, we've had different businesses come forward to support clubs in the past where they might have said, well, we can't financially support a crowdfunding campaign, but actually we can gift you an display kitchen for the clubhouse because we know that you're trying to raise money to actually refurbish the clubhouse and the kitchen is part of that. So they would not have had those conversations had a crowdfunder not been promoted in that area. You may learn some new skills and we're on hand to help you with that. So those skills can be really transferable as well. Things like writing engaging copy on your page, knowing how to connect with an audience, knowing how to kind of self-promote as well. And also, there's the extra funding or the match funding opportunities that we have. And we'll discuss the movement fund in detail this evening. I just want to make you all aware that we also work with both national and regional partners, and they have pots of money available to distribute to eligible projects on our crowdfunding platform. So please do make sure that when you are considering crowdfunding, you're also looking at the different funding opportunities that could be available to you. You can receive pledges from more than one of our partners, and actually our kind of guest project this evening had exactly that situation happen, and we can talk about how that worked for them and their successful campaigns. So, why does crowdfunding for sport or physical activity work so well? Well, ultimately, you've got so many things that are part of a recipe for a brilliant campaign already kind of in your armory. You've got things like a ready-made crowd. No doubt you're already engaging with individuals, with beneficiaries, with participants, potentially with local businesses who are already kind of sponsoring different elements of your club or of your projects. They are your core audience, your core crowd, and we can help you to build upon that. But ultimately, you're not going into this having to generate an audience from scratch. They already exist. So please do make sure that you're connecting with them, because your core audience are going to be the ones that really help to drive momentum straight out of the gates when you're crowdfunding. You'll have a shared passion. So whether that's the group of people that are actually putting on the crowdfunding campaign and kind of responsible for, the planning, the running, the delivery, but also that shared passion from that slightly wider core audience as well. Having a team of people around you can be really helpful. We've got two project owners who are behind our guest project this evening, and it's really great to be able to have a team of people that you can, run ideas past, get some feedback with certain elements of the page and the promotion, maybe even delegate certain jobs to. We all know that predominantly so many of you are either working full-time jobs and doing things on a voluntary basis, or if you are working within your clubs, day-to-day club life can be really, really busy. And we want to make sure that you're able to have capacity to really give it your all for a crowdfunding campaign. So having people around you to help facilitate that is a really good idea. You will be known in your community. Often sports clubs are, a real hub for community engagement and for different events and things that go on throughout the year. So lean on that and make sure you kind of build on that community recognition. You might have capacity to run fundraising challenges and activities, and that can be a great way to involve others in your fundraising kind of endeavours as well. So think about, if you have your own premises, what kinds of things could you be doing on site? Could you do a community fundraising day? Or maybe you set challenges to different teams, different kind of age groups. Maybe you want to have a mass kind of rugby-a-thon for a set amount of time, or you want to pit the veterans against the youth team and actually have people kind of buying tickets towards that, or something where you can generate a bit of income towards the crowdfunder in that way. Lean on your networks as well. So that will be talking to those members, talking to those beneficiaries, talking to local businesses as well, with a few calls to action. And that can be done before you even go live with your project. So things like, letting them know you're planning on crowdfunding, and the way that they can get behind you that would be really useful would be to obviously share your project, maybe offer a reward that you could list on your page, and make a donation if they financially can do. Those three things are really key to a successful campaign. And of course, maybe even get involved in that fundraising challenge that you've set. Now, if you have any local celebrity or kind of, national, worldwide celebrity that's come through the ranks, or maybe some alumni that you can bring back into the fold to help you promote the campaign, that's a great idea. It's not necessarily going to be that golden ticket to a successful campaign, but there's no harm in sending that email, or, sharing that post, or whatever it might be that gives you the ability to connect with them. It's always worth doing, but just bear in mind the majority of your campaign is going to be supported by those that are close to you. But there's no harm in getting a bit of a wider share from somebody who's got a really big audience. And then, as I've mentioned, make sure you champion that community impact throughout the whole of your campaign, not just on the page, but also in that promotion as well. Okay. So that's a bit of an overview, a top level view, if you like, of crowdfunding for sports clubs or rugby clubs in this instance. Now we're going to hand over to Becky Evans, who's going to talk through the Movement Fund and the types of projects that might be eligible for receiving that through their campaigns. Hi, Becky. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me, Zoe.
No worries. I'm going to turn my mic and camera off and hand over to you.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Yep, thanks for coming along to tonight's webinar. My name is Becky Evans. I'm one of the investment advisors based at Sport England. So if any of you have ever called the funding helpline or dropped us an email, I'll be one of the people that will respond in. So we do offer Sport England Moving Fund as a match funder on Crowdfunder. So the Movement Fund offers awards of up to £15,000 to support projects that challenge inactivity and inequalities. A few bits of key information: to be eligible to apply, you must be set up as a not-for-profit organisation, so most rugby clubs are. We can fund projects for up to 12 months. One organisation can apply for up to 15,000 in a 12-month period, and it's currently taking us around 6 to 8 weeks to notify applicants of our decision. We're really keen to support those projects that can explain how, as a result, more people will be active and less people will be inactive. And we're really, really keen to support projects that are supporting any of our priority groups into regular activity participation. So, for example, people living with long-term health conditions or disabilities, older adults 65 plus, people from more culturally diverse communities, girls 5 to 16. So you might be looking at a project that's potentially updating your changing facilities to accommodate your growing women and girls section, just as a bit of an example. You might also be looking to make your clubhouse a bit more accessible for people with disabilities. So maybe you're looking at access to the clubhouse, access to change rooms, access to toilet facilities. It's really important that you explain the need for your project, so making sure that you are taking a user-focused approach, informed by your target audience. So, for example, explaining that you would like to improve your clubhouse, but without telling us why that's needed. So maybe you want to improve your clubhouse so that it's a more positive experience for everyone that's attending on a regular basis. Therefore, there's less likely, it improves the social element of the sport, means that more people are more likely to keep turning up and taking part in sport. We so so we can offer up to 50% of your total project cost, up to £15,000. You can, to make an application, so if you're not crowdfunding yet, you can go onto Sport England website, read through the guidance there, and then make an application via the Sport England website. We will take it through the assessment process, which is taking between 6 and 8 weeks at the moment. And notify you of the outcome. If it's successful, it could be a grant award or a pledge award. So a pledge award is a conditional offer of support on completion of a successful crowdfunder. If you've already created a campaign, so most of you are here tonight, so you've got an interest in crowdfunding. So it's really simple to set up your campaign on Crowdfunder. You'll be matched with us, Sport England, as a extra funder. You'll complete a short application. We will assess it against our criteria, and then we'll let you know the outcome of that application. If you are successful, you will be given a case officer from Sport England that will help you through the process. So that's along with the support that's available through Crowdfunder as well. To receive our pledge, you will need to raise 25% of your total project costs from at least 25 unique supporters. Our pledge will land, and then you need to then reach your 100% target. So for example, your total project cost on your target might be 20,000. We could give you 10 and you would need to raise the remaining 10. And then if you do get to target, there's also that opportunity to go into stretch, which a lot of rugby clubs tend to be really, really successful at crowdfunding because you all have brilliant networks of supporters. So stretch targets are definitely doable for rugby clubs.
Fab, thanks, Becky. We've had a couple of questions come through actually about specifically about the movement fund. So it might be a nice time to cover a couple of those off while I've got you on screen.
Sure.
Um, so first question, is this fund accessible multiple times, i.e. several key different projects? You touched on that in what you were just saying, but just to reiterate the kind of parameters of applying more than once.
Yeah, so we can fund one organisation up to 15,000 in a 12-month period. If we've supported you once through Crowdfunder, it's probably not likely that we would advise you to crowdfund again within a 12-month period. But yeah, as long as your project, say for example, you might have two projects, and at the start of the year you apply for 5,000, and then you have another project you can apply for up to 10,000, but we can't fund one organisation over 15,000 in a 12-month period.
Fab, thank you. And can you apply for the movement fund whilst your crowdfunding campaign is live, or does it have to be agreed in advance?
You can apply while it's live, but just need to make sure you allow for that time for us to make that decision, which can be up to, so at the moment, 6 to 8 weeks. You just need to make sure that your timescales for your campaign allow us to make the decision, which could obviously be positive or negatives and just unsuccessful. Just need to be aware of that as well.
Fabulous. And then we've just got one about the unique supporters, which I'm happy to take. So, in terms of being a unique supporter, what that essentially means is the system is taking the first donation from an individual as a unique donation. If they then come back to your campaign and donate again, which is wonderful news for you towards your target, only that first donation will actually be counted towards that match funding milestone that you need to hit. So I hope that helps. Quite often we have situations where people have done some really great in-person fundraising and they want to put all of that onto the crowdfunding campaign in one lump sum, which is doable, but obviously that's just one transaction. So that all counts as one unique supporter. So think quite cleverly about how you're signposting people to make those individual donations to your page rather than doing lots of in-person things, and kind of not amassing those supporter numbers that you need to. Thanks, Becky. You're okay to stick around, aren't you, for the
Yeah.
Q&A as well at the end? So keep those questions coming and we will loop back in with Becky towards the end of the session. Okay, so I've mentioned rewards a couple of different times, and for some of you on the call, you might be familiar with the concept of kind of rewards, so giving something back in terms of thanking people, if you like, for their financial contribution. Essentially, what we are tasking you with is going out and speaking to your community. So, not only thinking about the things that you have capacity to offer as a club, and that might be things like, sponsorship, that might be things like a match day, a signed match day ball, or, sponsorship of a kit, all those types of things that you have capacity to do and you probably do anyway. But rather than having them sit somewhere else outside of the crowdfunding campaign, you might list them at a slight discount as rewards, and that will incentivize people to claim those items or claim that sponsorship or discounted membership for next year, whatever it might be, through the crowdfunding campaign whilst it's live. So you're funneling all of those kind of existing revenue streams, if you like, so things like sponsorship and membership, into one place, into that crowdfunding campaign, just for the duration of it being live. And the way you're going to incentivize people to do that is you're going to offer it at a bit of a discount. So actually, your marketing message becomes, if you get your 2027 membership through our live campaign, you'll save yourself 15% or something like that. And you make sure that that price point reflects that. The other thing that we would ask you to do is think about the way in which you can engage your community. So that might be tickets to a community event that you're going to host at your venue. It might be a taster day. You might be inviting people to come along and try rugby, and you're going to lay on a bit of food and a bit of drink, have a barbecue if we were a few months ahead than where we are. But you might sell tickets to that. You might sell kind of barbecue or food vouchers where people can redeem that on the day. Also, think about reaching out to your business network, your community as a whole, and that's just what Dursley RFC did. So, they had some really lovely different examples of some vouchers, some kind of experiences, event tickets, and things that they listed on their page. I've just pulled out the coffee shop one here because that's what a bargain is that. You pledge £5 and you're going to get a £10 voucher to go and spend at the Lazy Goose, which is probably a really well loved and well known coffee house. We can ask them when they're on the call. But things like the sponsorship deal. So actually, you're saving yourself over £200 by claiming that sponsorship deal as a reward while the crowdfunder is live. And all of those sold out. So five of those being claimed at £500 each is going to be a real boost to your campaign. Same with the bucket hat, the Dursley RFC bucket hat. It's a limited edition. People like limited things. They like to feel special. So 25 out of 25 of those were claimed as well. So you will have a better understanding of your key audience and the types of things that they would like to see as rewards. But please do engage with that business community, potentially your close network as well. You may well be surprised at the kind of talents and the side hustles and all of those other things that your existing members and those that are close to the project have that can be listed as rewards, whether it's tutoring, accounting services, maybe somebody's a budding artist and they'd like to create some prints or something that could be claimed by way of a reward. What we have seen when we've done a bit of a deep dive on the data over recent years is that crowdfunding campaigns that are offering rewards typically raise, on average, about 30% more. So that average pledge boosts up by about 30%. And just to kind of caveat that by saying it's not strictly because all of these rewards are selling out. Don't be disheartened if you've got loads of rewards and not all of them are flying out the door and all being kind of claimed. One of the reasons that that kind of boosts the average pledge is it gives you a really good promotional angle. It kind of encourages you to go and have those conversations about your crowdfunding campaign, those calls to action that we talked about at the beginning of the call. And also it gives you things to feature through your promotion. You could do a bit of promo talking about this, the Lazy Goose coffee shop, and you might actually focus on the fact that they've gifted this lovely voucher. You might do a whole kind of social media post or similar on the coffee shop itself with a link to the crowdfunder. You would encourage the coffee shop to actually promote the crowdfunding campaign to their customers. So it becomes mutually beneficial. You're bringing people into their business, they're promoting your crowdfunding campaign, and actually it's collaboration between the members of the community. And it can be a really successful way of boosting that awareness and knowledge around what you're doing. One of the hardest bits of crowdfunding is connecting with and understanding that audience. So we've got lots of different resources to help you to do this. But just to give you an overview of the way to do it successfully, you want to really think about breaking up that audience into some kind of bite-sized pieces. So really segmenting that huge community around you into some smaller groups. And you can see on the slide here some examples of that. For each of these groups, you want to think about how you're going to contact them and how you're going to communicate with them. Sending out a mass email to everybody you've ever had within your contacts list and all of the different kind of infos at and hellos at that you've managed to amass by doing a little bit of research, all with the same message, is probably not going to yield the best results. What we know does work is actually being as personable as possible, using personal contacts wherever possible, thinking about the best way that these groups of people are going to engage with communication. So for friends and family, you might pick up the phone, you might talk to them in person. For kind of existing members, it might be a WhatsApp group that you already have. It might be a newsletter, for example. For local businesses, it could be going in and having a conversation, taking some flyers round. And think about for every different group that you've kind of, segmented your audience into, how you're telling your story really matters as well. So think about that key part of your project or your campaign, which best resonates with each group. So going back to those local businesses, is it going to be We would love to be able to promote our local high street businesses as part of this campaign. If you were able to offer us a reward, we would make sure that we feature you at the top of our socials for a couple of days, and we'd love to do a little piece about how kind of great you are and how brilliant it is to have, independent businesses on the high street. If it's friends and family, it could be as simple as they want to see you be successful and they know just how passionate you are about the club that you're involved with. For your members, your beneficiaries, or your participants, it could be that you lead with the fact that, upgrading the club or being able to improve these facilities are going to have a direct effect on their experience of actually participating in rugby with you. So think about that bit of the story or the bit of the project which resonates best with each group, and lead with that with your promotion. And as I've mentioned before, making sure that you keep in regular contact with these different audiences, these different groups. So things like posting updates to your campaign page, which Dursley RFC did really well. We will share their pages with you so you can take a little look. When you post an update to your page, it kind of sits public facing so people can read through those when they look at your page, and it also gets emailed out to everyone that's supported you. So it's a really lovely way to keep them in the loop with what you're doing whilst your project is live, but also afterwards. Let them know how you've spent the money. Let them know when you cut the ribbon on that new clubhouse, whatever it might be. They want to feel part of this with you. And it can also be utilised. So your crowdfunding campaign can be utilised further down the line to actually unlock funding from elsewhere. So thinking about when you're creating your campaign, you're actually creating a really lovely kind of digital portfolio or digital archive, if you like, of your successes, not only with fundraising, but everything that's going on with the club and the project at that time, and kind of, after you've raised the money as well. And you can just share a link to that campaign into any grant applications that you might be doing in the future to say, look, who supported us? We had so much support from our community. Look at these lovely comments of support. We were able to receive match funding from Sport England and maybe these other funders as well. It's a really wonderful, almost kind of a snapshot of a slight kind of fundraising and impact kind of evidence that you might be able to put within a future grant application. Having a way to keep tabs on that promotion is, I'd say, it is important. I'm somebody who, when you're in the thick of something, the day's just passed, and before you know it, you're a week into something, and actually there are so many different actions that you could have taken, and now you're kind of on the back foot and kind of chasing your tail a little bit. So having something like a spreadsheet or something similar, whatever works for you, where you can actually list out those different audiences, so those different segments, and think about the method in which you're going to contact them, and then maybe a bit of a status update as to how you've got on with that. Do you need to go back and speak to them, like where you're up to with it? So just looking at the primary school example here, the method that this club decided on was word of mouth. So they've actually got members who are parents at that school. So they're going to have a bit of a chat at the school gate in the playground. They're thinking about setting up a fundraising event with the school where maybe some of the coaches are going to go in and they're going to do some rugby sessions with the kids. They've spoken to the PTA and they're going to put some information out on the WhatsApp group, and also they're going to send an email out to all of the different parents in the school. The idea is going to be they're going to arrange a fundraising day to build awareness around the campaign and also have the school being able to generate some funding to put into the campaign. And so they're arranging that with the PTA, and they'll need to obviously keep updating that status so that they can make sure they put the exact date in there and any other actions that need to happen. But at the moment, they are arranging a school fundraising day. Okay, so what I would love to do now is we're actually going to look at our guest project. So this is Dursley RFC. I've mentioned a few times that they've actually run campaigns with us. They've actually had two separate campaigns. First one was in 2023, which raised just over £24,000. And I love this, has always stuck in my mind since we first met them back in 2023. But their kind of slogan and their tagline for their overall projects was to harness the power. So they really, really wanted to make sure that their club was kind of energy efficient, sustainable, kind of looking towards the future, thinking about things like renewable energy as well. So their initial project was raising money to install solar panels. They've actually come back to us as well, back to Crowdfunder, essentially for what I would call kind of the next phase, if you like, when they're now looking to move away from their kind of reliance on gas as well. So both those campaigns have received match funding. They received match funding from multiple different partners. So those two projects totaled over £30,000 worth of match funding, and they also were supported in total by 316 members of their community as well, backing both of those campaigns. So in total for both of those campaigns, worked out as 100 and kind of 50 odd ish for both, which is brilliant. Their most recent campaign received £11,180,000 from Sport England. They also received some money from our other partners as well. But here to talk in more detail about their successes is Nicola and Tracy from Dursley RFC. Thank you for joining me both this evening.
Hi,
Hello, how are you?
all good, thank you. It sounds really impressive when you say it on screen.
It is impressive. With Tracy's done a runner. She's
I know, I don't
she's
know.
had enough of me talking. Tracy, are you there? Well, we'll get there.
I'm
She
here.
is. There
I
she
am
is.
here. Hi.
I didn't know if
Hi.
I'd sent you off to sleep with my
Oh,
talking of
no.
about crowdfunding. You were like, I've heard all this before. I've done it twice. I don't need to hear it all again. Um, Thank you for joining us. It is really impressive, not only that first campaign, which we actually talked about way back then. We talked through the campaign on a webinar just like this, and that in itself was impressive. But to come back, do it again, and essentially it is kind of a slightly different aspect of the same project, if you like, isn't it? It's just kind of a different facet of what you're trying to do overall. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about Dursley RFC and your kind of overall project ideas?
Go
Who's
for it,
going
Nick.
first? Okay.
You go.
I'll start it. So I think the original, it started quite a few years ago where we did a member survey. So at the end of the year, we'll always kind of say, how's your experience at the club? Just really simple email using SurveyMonkey. Now you can use Google tools, lots of different tools to do them. But we were trying to find out what their priorities would be. Because if you're ever applying for grant funding or trying to get money from anyone, you need to show that you have support of your club. So we did a simple survey where we were asking them about sustainability and long-term sustainability, so solar panels, and us being a more eco-friendly club. And overwhelmingly, all the members obviously are going to say, yeah, we want you to be more eco-friendly. Yes, we're behind any kind of environmental work you want to do. And so we started with evidence from that. And then I would say that I'll go on to Tracy here that the club decided we own our buildings. So we need to say that first because a lot of clubs don't own their
Yeah.
buildings. So we're in a privileged position. I mean, you can fundraise for lots of things other than buildings, but the club decided that it wanted to put solar panels in on our new changing rooms. New, I mean, they're about 10 years old now, but they feel new to me. Because we went to put them on when we built them, but we didn't manage to because of lack of funding. So we kind of revisited it a few years later, and that's where the crowdfunder came in. So Tracy initially then was our kind of volunteer grants officer who would just go and apply for any grant going. So I'll hand over to Tracy quickly.
Yeah. So we decided that we wanted to put 80 panels and battery storage to remove our reliance on electricity because our costs were going up and up and up. It was very successful, and within the first year, we saved over £6,000. So we decided that we wanted to look at the gas element. We are now gas free in our clubhouse. We've installed an air source heat pump, all to do with this funding. We've upgraded our radiators. We've still got one phase left to go, which we're hoping to get done in the next couple of months, which is where we're going to install two really big water heaters. When we remove, we've still got gas at the moment in the changing rooms, which is a totally different building. And we need to increase our battery storage as well. So we need to buy some more batteries. We've got the funding. It's just a matter of actually doing it now. But yeah, we had two taglines, I think. I think the first one was harness the power, help us help us keep the lights
on.
on.
Yeah.
And that was really effective, I found. And this one, we struggled for a bit, didn't we, Nick, on the next one? But we thought, right, okay, so we had tackling climate change. So I think it's really key that you think about those things, because it catches people's attention.
It really does. And I like that you know, you even created a graphic, didn't you, for kind of harness the power, that it's so easy to then share into lots of different kind of literature or social posts and things, and people, it becomes really eye-catching. And you know, it's something that even for us at Crowdfunder, you know, we see so many projects come through the platform every single day. And it's little things like that that make sure that they stick in our memory, as well as your potential supporters. How did you find promoting the campaign then? Because obviously this is like, let's focus on the most recent campaign. Did you find that it was going back to a similar audience, or had you learnt lessons from the first one and you maybe tried different angles of promotion? Nicola's laughing, which makes me think
I was going to say, so the first one, it's not easy, everybody, it's not easy, but the first one, because it's new, exciting, and we could say, help us keep the lights on, like we can't afford our bills. I'm sure all the rugby clubs on this will know what it's like. We don't think we can get through another winter. Bar takings are going down, the weather's stopping, games being played, so therefore you haven't got people spending money at the club, and so we were really worried we couldn't pay our bills. So saying help us keep the lights on and going out really hard to our players, supporters, volunteers, we don't want to put your subs up, we don't want you to pay more, and we can't heat this clubhouse, we need your support. That was a really good hook. Now, the second time you do that 2 years later, you can't say, help us keep the lights on, because we've got a load of solar panels keeping the lights on. And so I found it much harder the second time, because it is the same people and you can't be as urgent. So I think this time it was more, look how great we are and what we did. We can't believe we achieved that. We know times are really difficult. We don't want to put your subs up. Let's get rid of the gas now, so we don't have to pay any electricity bills. We've got our solar panels, well, kind of. Let's try and get rid of the gas. So let's finish what we've started. And I think people then believed in that. But it was, from a publicity point of view, I'm the PR person, loads harder to sell a story, and it took us longer. So the first one was like 6 to 8 weeks. We raised the money. The second one was 12,
we extended
maybe?
it, actually. Yeah, we started
it.
at 6 weeks. Yeah, we started at 6 weeks, but we extended it to 12 weeks in the end.
I think Tracy got much more creative with the rewards. So, you know, we didn't have club towels before we introduced them. We didn't have bucket hats. We introduced them. So it's just thinking of new things. But actually, the kit, selling off old kit from our club shop and introducing things like bucket hats, towels, I think that was a huge winner. We've had a lot of new players and they hadn't got kit, and so it worked well. I'm in the women's team, and they really embraced it. The women went for all of those rewards. I think they make a big difference, the rewards. They really do.
Yeah. You a bucket hat would be so popular. Bucket hats made a comeback.
Well, everyone wears bobbles because that's the weather, isn't it? In the summer, then you're not really. But yeah, they did well.
And I think that's a really lovely thing, actually, and we've seen this kind of replicated with different crowdfunders, but again, works really well for sport, where you will have kind of branded bits of kit, won't you, that you just will have in the club shop or people can purchase. Having something which is limited edition as part of the crowdfunder really piques people's interest, and whether that be a bucket hat or whether that be just we've had basketball clubs that have literally just done, you know, a slightly different coloured kind of founders like t-shirt or, you know, basketball jersey or whatever, and they've just flown out because people feel like, I want to get my hands on this because it's not going to be around forever. And that was a really lovely touch. In terms of match funding then, so obviously you've had pledges from various different match funders. You've had, even with this recent one, you had Sport England and Aviva as well, didn't you? How was the process of kind of applying for those match funds through the campaign? You mentioned, did you go directly to Sport England in the first instance?
Yeah, so I went to Sport England originally, and they came back with a conditional offer of 11,180, but we had to match fund that. So it's like, we're going to have to do another crowdfunder. Second time, I know Nikki said it's difficult from selling it, but it was much easier doing the second one, because the first time we did it, honestly, the amount of information we had to keep putting in, and then we kept asking for more information, and then we weren't allowed to add certain words and all this. At one stage, when we did it back in 23, we nearly decided not to go through with it,
Don't say that.
No, that's true. No,
No, I'm
Are you
joking.
totally
I'd
honest,
rather you were
Zoe?
completely honest because
Yeah,
it's all lessons
honestly,
learned.
don't underestimate it. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. We would never be in this position, and we wouldn't even consider doing the second one if we weren't so successful with the first. So yeah, Sport England gave us this 11,180, but obviously we had to match fund. However, your crowdfunding platform is really good because what happens is every now and again another match funder will come on board, and which we did, which was the Aviva Community Fund, which came, I think it was halfway through, and then from that point onwards they were match funding on top. So, which was great, absolutely phenomenal. So, and it's literally, once you're set up, it's very, very easy to get this extra match funding. It's only a matter of answering a few questions and setting up the bank details.
Yeah, and you're
So,
right.
yeah, definitely worth it.
I joke, but actually, it's really important to be completely transparent. It is a lot of work. And I think for everybody on the call, it's understanding capacity as well. And actually, you can achieve raising money in a short amount of time, but I would always recommend that you're looking at your fundraising needs, when that project needs to happen, and making sure you've got enough time to kind of factor in the planning of everything. Like you said, Tracy, it might be that you need to go back and forth a little bit with the page itself, or making sure you've got time to really take a look at what you could apply for and apply for those things, because it could be, it could be waiting on a decision from a match funder as well. So factoring that into all of those kind of things before you're even thinking about going live with your campaign. And that way, when you've got all your ducks in a row and you go live, that bit in theory will be the just going through the motions of building that momentum and making sure you're promoting, rather than trying to kind of do all of those other elements with a live campaign. You really want to focus on promotion.
You've got the time to do it up front. Just spend the time doing it. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to do it, to be fair. I mean, we had obviously timescales because of the offer we had, but the first time we did it, I don't think we did. I think we
had our own timescales. I think we wanted to get the panels in before the winter, so we pressured ourselves.
Yeah, and another thing is, you've got that time, and then you also got time to plan to actually do the implementation, and we did it quite quickly. Yeah, because we got the funding, and then we were all set up, ready to go. So we got it done within 2 months. One thing I would say though is really important to get the video. It doesn't have to be professional whatsoever. We were stressing about it, but it was brilliant. We just got, Nikki can explain what happened.
Yeah, I think they insist you have to have a video, don't you?
For the Active Together Fund, you needed to have a video, which was a previous Sport England fund. With the Movement Fund, there's no requirement to have a video. However, in the same way as kind of rewards, it can be a really great way to just engage people really quickly and get your message across in a short amount of time, because everyone's short on time. So if you share a short little video, you explain about
and
yours, Nicola.
the less polished, the better.
Yeah, definitely.
As well, I think if you look, I think our first video, we had all the different committee members doing a little bit of it. I wrote a script. I just asked them all to film it on their phones and then patched it together. And the second one, we didn't even do that. We just filmed what we wanted to do and did a voiceover. But it looks like someone's made it at home. Me. But that's much better, because no one wants to. If you turn up with a really shiny, posh video, I think people think you're loaded, therefore aren't likely to give. Whereas if it's really obviously a member of your sporting community trying to make some crap homemade video, then it's much more effective.
It's
That's my excuse. It was all planned. I can say, are you going to pick up the questions?
I can see lots flooding in. So what I'm going to do is invite Becky into this little area. If you can pop your camera back on, Becky, for me. Let's bring you into the fold, because there's loads flying in. Okay, right. I'm going to do this a bit weirdly and start kind of lower at the bottom so I can scroll through. So Nicola and Tracy, Tracy, I don't know if you want to take this one. How many hours were spent on documentation? So I guess filling in those applications, completing the page.
Blimey.
Just put you on the spot.
I would say probably about 6-7 hours.
Is that everything kind of in total? So like populating the page and adding all of those bits. Okay, fab.
Yeah, I mean, first time I might have been a bit longer, but this last project probably about from the application with Sport England. Probably about 6, maybe 7 hours.
Fabulous, thank you. And as you
I mean,
mentioned,
the real time is finding the rewards.
yeah,
I spent hours and hours on that, but worth it. Definitely worth the investment.
it is one of those things like you mentioned as well. You can keep going back into that page. You don't have to do it all in one 6-hour stint, do you?
No,
You can just kind of chip away at it in amongst.
just save it page at a time or whatever. Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay. Great job, Nicola and Tracy. That's from Sean. Did you get the commitment of the funding before you could match it? So essentially, yes, didn't you really? You applied
We did,
before
yeah.
you launched.
We didn't realise actually because Sport England, we applied for the Sport England Movement Fund, and assumed we were going to get the money directly. And then when we got the conditional offer, it actually said, "You've got it, but you need to match fund it."
Like, we've already done that before. I don't want to do it again. But then you got Aviva on top and you were really successful.
Yes,
Yeah, Zoe.
But I mean, the reason we were successful is we had lots of rewards. I really think the time spent getting your rewards out in the community, we had all sorts of things. We had like Rococo garden tickets, we had Cheltenham races. Everything was given to me free of charge. So anything. One thing I would say though, Zoe, I believe you can only have one reward.
Per unique
person. Per person.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. Yeah, they are kind of essentially separate transactions, aren't they?
Yeah.
So you can't amass them into a basket.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's something you can consider maybe, because people and I think we are match funded up to £500, was it on this one? With the Sport England, I think it was. Was it 500?
So basically, Sport England is kind of a lump sum that goes in.
Yeah.
Aviva is a live match fund. So that would have been up to a maximum pledge of £250 they would match in real time. But you're right. What you can do is kind of claim a reward and top up with a donation. But it would be wonderful for somebody to be able to kind of claim a few rewards in one transaction. It's definitely something that we're looking at for sure.
Okay.
We've had this one in from David in terms of just asking about contributions being eligible for gift aid. So essentially you have the ability to accrue gift aid onto your page if your club is eligible. There is kind of rules and regulations around what can be what you can claim gift aid on. So it might be that some of your rewards, for example, might not be eligible for gift aid, but it's really simple. It's like a tick box exercise. So you can decide whether a reward is eligible for gift aid. Donations can be. If your organisation or your club is eligible to receive gift aid, you simply just tick the checkbox. If you've made a mistake, you just check it, and that can be done at any point in your campaign. You can accrue gift aid through your campaign, and at the end you can download a gift aid report that you can just simply upload into the HMRC portal and then draw that down. So we don't necessarily, it's a fee paying service, but we very much just recommend that obviously you go through your usual route with HMRC. But yes, essentially you can accrue gift aid on your campaign. Just make sure you're understanding all the rules and regs in terms of what can be eligible to receive gift aid on. I've just waffled on about gift aid, but yes, but just be careful what you're putting it on, if that makes sense. You might want to check with your accountant or HMRC. Okay. Any help, advice available in framing up the submission? So in terms of the application, I'm going to hand that over to Becky actually, because you are the expert when it comes to the applications for the Movement Fund.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. It's a great question. So investment advisor team at Sport England can help advise and give guidance on making an application to the fund. I've just popped our contact details in, so if anybody wants to find out about their project and whether it's eligible to apply to the Movement Fund, you can give us a call on the funding helpline or drop us an email.
Thank you. Really interesting question from John, actually. Can you have multiple user accounts set up for admins? So essentially you would have a primary kind of project owner setting up the campaign, but you can invite others to be admins on that page. So you can invite other people to kind of join that page. So yes, ultimately, however, there will still be one primary project owner, which is kind of the main point of contact. So whether you want to organise that amongst yourselves, if you've got a bit of a team working on that. I'm not actually aware, were you both admins on your pages?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we could both pop in and update.
Yeah.
I mean, we started off doing things together in one room, and then we realised
Yeah.
that we were better just working and updating bits.
Fab.
I
I
just,
saw the question about how supportive were the RFU development officers. I don't think we had any. I don't think we asked for help, I'm going to say. I can see
yeah, we
someone was on
we
from
had some
GRFU, so I
emails
don't
coming
want to.
backwards and forwards, but that
Yeah,
was it. Yeah.
we
No.
didn't ask for help. So, yeah.
I just noticed there's a question about crowdfunding and how it's paid and rewarded. I
Oh
would
yeah.
say we got our funds through very quickly after it finished, probably within 2 weeks. It comes through in dribs and drabs, depending on which pot of money it comes from. But the money comes through very quickly.
Amazing. And actually, what you can do now in terms of kind of having that money paid out to you is you can opt to receive what we call early payouts. So you only need to be live with your project for 7 days and have raised some money, and you can actually start drawing down those funds that you've raised from your crowd. So your supporters that have pledged towards your campaign. Match funding, slightly different situation. There's a few kind of T's and C's around that. But if you really do need to kind of receive that money quickly, there are ways that you can do that to get that project off the ground nice and early. So you can explore that with us. In terms of Crowdfunder itself and how that is kind of financed, there's a few different ways. So we have contracts with our funding partners. So there is, we distribute those funds on their behalf. So that is a contracted service. And we also have things like fees attached to certain types of projects that are raising money in terms of sports clubs and organisations. If you are set up in a not-for-profit way, so that's charitable status or cask or social enterprise, KIC, voluntary group, you won't pay any what we call platform fees, which is essentially what we need to keep our lights on and keep us all in jobs, but you are exempt from any of those. There will be transaction fees, though, associated with your campaign. And one thing that I advise is I will share the fees table with you in the email. Just take a look at where you sit on that. It's very competitive with other platforms, but what you might want to do when you're setting your target is maybe add a few percent on top of that, just so the amount that you're raising actually covers off any of those transaction fees, so that what you come away with is what you need for your project and you're not kind of a little bit short because some of that's gone on your transaction fees. Is that something that you guys considered when you were doing your campaign?
No, because it's not a lot of money, I don't think.
It's not really, is
No,
it?
and because we did stretch target, we were more. We had more than enough. I was just having a look to see what it was out of interest.
I think
So yeah, so 26,246 pounds that we had. Bear with. I'll quick look. I don't know if I can find the information.
I just ask a question while you're
Mm-hmm.
looking. So Tracy, Nicola, as well as the funding and the fundraising that you got from completing the campaign, what were the other benefits that the club experienced?
I think, gosh, huge, really. For a really basic level, I mean, you did say, I'm going to disagree with something Zoe said in the intro about it's like more of a challenging way of fundraising. Actually, I think if you, used to doing cake sales and everything else, this is a really structured way of fundraising, and I liked it. It wasn't out of my comfort zone because we had rules to follow and structure and things to share. It was much easier to manage, and everything is online, and you've got the data you can pull off and you can see who's donated. You don't normally benefit from that unless someone is really good in setting up a whizzy spreadsheet every time someone gives you something. So I found the structure really helpful. I think community wise, we spread it. We've got quite a high profile on a community anyway, but the local media, the press, so BBC local radio love this kind of thing. They picked it up. So it was good that we had quite a high profile locally during the campaign. I think our members, no matter how much we think we tell them, don't really understand the costs and the challenges of running a club, a voluntary run club. And this helped them understand that. So I think a lot of people definitely now realize, wow, the bills are really expensive. well, these are just volunteers like me who are trying to run it. So from that point of view, it was really good. And then when we came to do it a second time, everyone understood what we were doing, how it worked, and I think took more advantage of things like rewards. So it sets you up for the future. Also, once you've written everything for this once, if you're applying for grants and you've got a load of core information about your club, you've done it once, you can use that in loads of different ways. So just now I go and think, oh, I need some pictures. Oh, we got all those lovely pictures that we saved for the crowdfunder, or some words for something. I can just cut it and paste it out of that. So it just gets your house in order that you can then just duplicate and go for more grants after. Yeah, I think it's that really.
Yeah, and we also
Quite a
got
lot.
asked to go and speak at the Gloucester Climate Change
Oh yeah, that's been really
at
good.
Lydney RFU as a case study, and also Active Gloucester. They've asked Nikki recently for a case study as well of how successful we've been in all our climate things that we're doing and making our club more sustainable, etc. So
It's probably made us more ambitious actually, hasn't it, as
it
well?
has, yeah.
We wouldn't have gone for this stuff before, and now we're like, yeah, sky's the limit. We'll try. If we don't get it,
Yeah.
fine, but we'll give it a go.
Yeah, we're going to look at rainwater harvest is our next one.
God,
There's no stopping
Look
you, is
out,
there,
Zoe.
Tracy?
just want a season of
It's like, right, what's next?
I grimace every time she says things.
Well, I've got to think of a tagline, Tracy.
Oh, I used AI last time. Everyone, there you go. I just asked Google, give me some words to do with rugby and climate change, and that's where tackling came from. So
Amazing.
yeah, no secret there.
I love it. We've come to the end of the hour. I have got a couple more slides just to go through really quickly, just kind of signposting you in the right directions. Somebody's just quickly asked about downloading reports to show kind of supporter engagement, who's claimed rewards. Absolutely. The admin side of it's really nice, isn't it? You've basically got a project dashboard where you manage every aspect of the campaign. So you can get really kind of nerdy with it, can't you? And kind of track where things have come from and what's going on. But in terms of the basics,
it's really good.
Downloading supporter kind of info and tracking those reward claims as well. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for joining me. It's been a really lovely evening, and it's so nice to catch up with yourselves as well, Tracy and Nicola. To see you successful again is lush. I love it. And thank you, Becky, as well for your expertise. Feel free to jump off the call if you want to. I've kept you long enough, or hang around. I'm just going to quickly go through those signposting slides. My goodness, it's definitely time to call it a night, isn't it? I'm losing my ability to speak. Let me just remove these guys from the spotlight and I can reshare. So I did have a slide all about some kind of key hints and tips, but I won't go through them now because it will take me a little minute, but I will include it in the follow-up email as part of the slide deck. So you can have a little look at those and work your way back through them. In terms of the support that we have available to yourselves, as I mentioned, you can join kind of future webinars. Come along to one of our drop-in sessions. If you've got any questions about crowdfunding, about your particular project, or anything about the process, please just come and join us. Come and ask the team at one of our Zoom sessions. Engage with the website as well. So look at things like our Knowledge Hub, which is full of loads of wonderful tips, guides on all of the different stages of crowdfunding. You can also ask any questions into our help centre. Engage with our customer support team, and of course that live project dashboard as well that I've just mentioned. In terms of finding out more information then about maybe eligibility of your particular project, you can reach out to Sport England directly and connect with the Movement Fund team. You can also reach out to our support team at Crowdfunder for any of those Crowdfunder questions, and they'll triage that to the relevant team member or join our online sessions. So we'd love to see you all raising the money that you need in order to get your projects underway. So please do consider adding your project onto Crowdfunder and maybe keeping that in draft mode and adding to it kind of as and when you need to. Go on then to launch that project. Ideally, you've applied for and maybe been approved for some of our match funds as well, which would be wonderful. And then, of course, promote that crowdfunding campaign with your networks as well, thinking about that networking map exercise that we looked at earlier on in the evening. Connect with us, so do follow us on our socials, keep in touch, make sure that you are keeping an eye out for things like inspiring stories, latest events that we've got coming up as well. All that remains to say is thank you so much for joining us this evening, and we would love to see you raise the amount of money that you need to for your projects, and we're all here to support you. So the very best of luck with it. Thank you.